Hello and good morning, friends. Welcome back. It is another exciting day in Empires and Puzzles, and with it comes a brand new hero once more. They released a wilderness summon, and they gave us a new kitty cat in the name of Gitnib. Man, this cat is looking. You know what? Honestly, I'm not a big fan of this. I'm not even gonna lie. This cat looks kind of like he's a little bit cracked out. And I'm not trying to be mean, but what is going on with this guy? His arms and everything are twisted in kind of weird positions. You know what? Whatever. He is what he is. So let's figure out what he does, though. That's the more important part, right? So we do get a blue monk, which is pretty cool. He's going to have that natural resistance against things. That does make them annoying to go up against. Let's see. Wildcat family. So bonus for 1, 2, or 3 heroes, we get 5, 10, or 15% chance to dodge special skills. Each special skill dodge damages the attacker for 100, 200, or 300 damage. Okay, so the family bonus here has never been one of my favorites. I feel like it's fine, but there's not that much exciting about it. Even if you have 3 wildcats paired together, 15% chance to dodge is what the moths get naturally, and the 300 damage back to them when you dodge. 300 is just a drop in the bucket these days. So even at maxed out potential, this is kind of a meh family special. All right, moving on. We also have a couple passives. Of course, we have 9 lives. When defeated, this character has an 80% chance to revive at the beginning of their next turn with 50% health and 80% mana. Activates up to 9 times. Each time you revive, the chance is reduced on each activation. So this is where the Wildcats get their bread and butter, right? The fact that they come back, and not only do they come back to life several times, they come back with 80% mana. It really ensures that they can cast their specials at a relatively fast clip, and it makes things difficult to handle them correctly. So that's really where I think the Wildcats get most of their strength. Then they also have the passive Lit Frame. This is going to basically say that their defense stat can never be modified. So what does that mean? Sorry, max preview. Let's put that back on. Okay, so if their defense stat can never be modified, it's going to always be whatever it is. So for example, here they put 1641 as the defensive trait. That won't go up or down with buffs, debuffs, growth. I don't believe this is affected by anything. So it's just going to be that 1641 period. That's both good and bad, depending on how you build your team. But just understand that that's how that works. All right. Then we also have the passive boosted regen. This is a little bit better than regular regen, but it's not a very exciting Aether power. Basically, he regenerates 300 boosted health over 6 turns or 50 boosted health a turn. Again, 50 is not really that significant, but I guess it is something. All right. Down here in the specials department, we get the Piranha Incident. Operating at slow speed. Okay, slow. Slow is not our favorite, but let's see what this special does before we put too many judgments out. So, all enemies receive 1500 surge bleed damage over 6 turns. Okay, so 1500 is basically going to be 250 damage per turn over 6 turns. This is to all enemies, so that's kind of interesting. If you click on the question mark, it says, if the target already has this effect, the duration will be refreshed and the damage will be increased by 300. Max total 3000. So, that's kind of interesting because the reality is if you get this off a second time before it ends in that 6 turns, it is going to over double down. So it's going to go from 250 a turn to 550 a turn. Now we're talking. Stacking this a few times is going to matter, and the duration of 6 turns is really helpful to help you get it off before this happens again. And I'll go into why, because I can already see this in my head a bit, but we'll talk about that at the end. So, summons a Piranha Fiend to all enemies. The Fiend damages the enemy with 80% attack every turn. The Piranha Fiend will absorb healing and disappears after absorbing an amount equal to 55% of the target's max health. Deals 400 to 800 damage to all enemies. Interesting. After 3 turns, if the caster is defeated, based on the damage the caster had taken while this effect was active. So there's a question mark. Maximum effect is achieved upon taking 50% of max health damage. Okay. So, gosh, this guy clearly, in my mind, although it is very disjointed how he is created, this guy is clearly a defensive tank master. So I'll explain why. Well, first of all, one, you want the tiles going into this guy to get the special off, right? Ideally, you want that special off, and a slow person can tank and still go off fast enough. We've seen this with things like Fergus, etc., Bernadette, stuff like that. So, they can go off at a reasonable clip. You actually want this guy to die. And that sounds silly, but you want him to die. Because after he goes off, especially if he gets his special off, if they kill him, he's returning with 80% mana. Understand, 80%. So instead of building up a slow special again, you're going to pop back up with 80% mana. Probably only need a couple more stray tiles to hit you before you're casting again. And when you do cast again, you're going to be loading up Fiends. So the first set of Fiends are going to go out. It's pretty much eating up all their healing, right? And then he gets chopped down, he comes back. he's going to probably put another set of Fiends up. But on top of that, he's stacking his Surge Bleed damage. So the effect that was on your guys doing 250 damage a turn is now doing 550 damage a turn. You have 2 rounds of Fiends on you, which means you're going to need to heal through 55% twice before your team's receiving any healing. And then if you kill him again, he's going to pop back up with 80% mana and might be able to cast this again. That Surge damage, that bleed damage is now going to be doing 850 damage a turn. You've got another round of minions on you. Like, he is actually going to be in a gigantic headache as a defensive tank. The Fiends and the stacking Surge bleed damage and everything, and the 9 lives popping him back up repeatedly with 80% mana. This guy is going to be a bit of a nightmare as a defensive tank. Do not underestimate what Gitnib could end up doing to your team, because the special doesn't look incredibly strong, but when you theory game it out, when you create the scenario that he will be creating on the battlefield, you'll understand how he is going to take control of the situation. So we are going to grade this guy right now, and I'm going to rate him in 2 different ways, okay? Both offensively and defensively, because I think he's going to stack up very differently on both. On offense, I would say he's an 8. He's a reasonable 8, strong hero, does cool stuff, but operating a little too slow for my liking. I don't think he's going to be the best offensive hero you've ever seen. As a defensive tank, this guy's clearly a 9, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a bit of a monster as a defensive tank, and I say grats to you if you pull him. He's going to absolutely be a headache for people. He's going to be fun in wars because it's going to be hard to eliminate him because of the 9 lives popping him back up again, so oftentimes your next war hit will have him back in the mix, and he gets 9 lives reset at the beginning of the next war hit as well. He's just going to be a pain. So if you get him, congratulations, level him. Enjoy wreaking havoc on your opponents with this guy as a defensive tank, and have yourself a wonderful day. We appreciate you guys. If you do like what I do, there's a little button at the bottom right. You want to click that. You can find me easier in the future, and we'll see you next time.